Let's take a minute and talk about dotted rhythms. Okay, dotted rhythms in music, things that look like this, okay, are generally pretty tricky for students that are beginning their mastery of rhythm. And it really isn't too bad. You just have to kind of practice it and understand the concept behind it. Okay, basically, what a dot is going to do, let's take a half note for instance. When you see a dot on the half note, then you need to think of it basically in two ways. You have the host note, let's call it the host note, okay, so the note right here that is being dotted, and then you have the dot itself, okay, and what a dot does is the dot basically adds 1/2 of the host note's value, rhythmic value, okay. So let's do the math here. The half note, as we know, is worth 2 beats. Okay, so if you go through and apply the concept, well, this dot is basically adding 1/2 of 2 beats to the half note. 1/2 of 2 beats basically is 1 beat. Okay, so this whole thing together, the dotted half note, is equal the 2 beats of the half note itself plus the 1 beat of the dot, giving you a grand total of 3 beats. That's what this rhythmic value will last for. Let's take another example. Let's take the dotted quarter note, for instance. You'll see these often. All right. So the quarter note is the host note, and that we know is equal to 1 beat. 1 beat for the quarter note. And then we have the dot, and the rule is that the dot adds 1/2 of the host note's value to the note itself. So 1/2 of 1 beat is 1/2 a beat. So this total value for the dotted quarter note is going to be 1.5 beats. Very simple. You'll see all types of dotted rhythms. Okay, here is a more complicated example, at least initially, is the dotted 8/16. Okay, in this case, you have the dotted 8th right here and then the 16th note here. If you remember back to the quick explanation of subdivision, all right, an 8th note itself, this is the host note, the 8th note here, is made up of 2 16th notes. But because we also have a dot, we're adding another 16th note to this because 1/2 of the value of an 8th note is a 16th note. So you're adding pretty much an additional 16th note right here. And if you look, the last 16th note is in the rhythmic figure. So this whole thing is worth 1 beat. Okay? And this portion of the rhythm right here is worth 3/4 of that beat. That's a trickier one. It could even extend in some pieces of music, depending on what the key signature, the time signature is telling you. You may even have a dotted whole note. Okay? And the dotted whole note, the same thing. The host note that is being dotted is the whole note, and that gets 4 beats. And then the dot is adding 1/2 of that value. So the dot adds 1/2 of that value, okay, giving it an additional 2 beats. So the total rhythm, the total value for a dotted whole note is 6 beats. And that's how that all works. Those are dots.